Sometimes the most surprising insights come from places you might not expect. Today we're diving into, well, an ancient text, Leviticus chapter 21. It's all about the rules for priests and high priests back then.
Exactly. And it gives you this really unique window into how they thought about holiness. You know, the standards were incredibly meticulous, sometimes really specific for those serving in sacred roles.
Okay, so let's break this down, Farno. Starting with the general priest. These weren't just like suggestions, they were pretty strict demands. First big one, avoiding ceremonial uncleanness from death.
Right. And this wasn't about, being physically dirty. It was a ritual thing. It stopped them doing sacred duties until they were purified. The text is very, very particular.
So they couldn't just attend any funeral.
Well, not exactly. They couldn't defile themselves for just anyone.
Yeah.
But there were exceptions for very close blood relatives.
Right.
Mother, father, son, daughter, brother. And also an unmarried sister who, depended on him. But interestingly, relatives by marriage? Nope. They weren't exceptions.
Wow, so a really tight circle. And it wasn't just about death, right? There were rules about how priests should look.
Yes, absolutely. Things like no shaving their heads, no trimming the edges of their beards, and no cutting their bodies either.
And why was that?
Well, the text links it directly to their job. It says they must be holy to their God because they present the food offerings. These offerings, they weren't just meals, they were really symbolic.
Ah, okay, so their physical form was part of that holiness.
Precisely. Any perceived flaw or deviation could be seen as disrespecting the divine, basically.
Yeah.
It shows the kind of absolute standard they aim for.
And marriage, too, there were restrictions there.
Oh, yes. Priests couldn't marry women considered defiled by prostitution or women who are divorced. Again, the stated reason is simply because priests are holy to their God.
It sounds like this idea of purity touched every part of their lives.
It really seems that way, a kind of holistic view.
Yeah.
And this is where one rule stands out as, well, pretty shocking to us today. It concerns a priest's daughter.
Right, I saw that. The text says if a priest's daughter defiles herself by becoming a prostitute, she actually disgraces her father. And the punishment, it's severe.
It is. She must be burned in the fire. It's incredibly harsh by modern standards, of course.
Yeah, that's quite something. What does that tell us?
Well, it really underscores the huge importance placed on the family's holiness, especially a priestly family. It suggests that her actions weren't just personal. They were seen as directly damaging the integrity, the reputation of the priesthood itself.
Okay, so those were the rules for the general priests, but then you have the high priest, the main guy, basically.
Indeed, and for him, the standards were even higher. Take that purity around death rule. For the high priest, it was absolute.
Absolute.
Yeah, he must not make himself unclean, even for his father or mother. Couldn't go near a dead body, couldn't even leave the sanctuary, the holy place, if one was nearby.
Why so strict for him?
Because he was set apart by the anointing oil of his God. His dedication was unique, demanding total separation from anything considered defiling. And this extended to his marriage, too.
Even more exclusive rules.
Exactly. He had to marry a virgin. And not just any virgin, but specifically only a virgin from his own people.
So definitely no widows, no divorced women, none of that. And the text gives a reason for this too, doesn't it?
Yes, it's explicitly so that he will not defile his offspring among his people. It's about ensuring the absolute purity of the next generation of high priests, a pure lineage.
It paints a picture of immense responsibility tied to lineage and conduct. But there was another layer too, wasn't there? Physical qualifications.
That's right. This is another area that can seem, well, quite jarring today. The text lists specific physical defects that would prevent a descendant of Aaron, the priestly line, from approaching the altar to make offerings.
What kind of things are we talking about?
Oh, quite a list. Being blind or lame, disfigured or deformed, having a hunchback or a dwarf. Also things like any eye defect, having festering or running sores, or even damaged testicles.
Wow. And the reason given.
The place of offering demanded a kind of physical wholeness, mirroring the ritual purity expected. But here's a really interesting nuance.
Oh.
While these physical defects disqualified them from offering the sacrifices, the text specifically says they could still eat the most holy food of his God, as well as the holy food.
Oh, that is interesting. So they weren't completely cut off.
Exactly.
Yes.
It suggests that while physical perfection was needed for active service at the altar, their inherent status, their connection to the priesthood by birth, wasn't totally nullified. They still belonged, in a sense.
So looking back at all this from our deep dive into Leviticus 21, it really hammers home the incredible demands of holiness and purity that were placed on the ancient Israelite priesthood, it gives you a real sense of what sacred duty meant for them.
It absolutely does. And maybe it leaves us and you listening with a question to ponder. What do these kinds of incredibly detailed, demanding ancient rules suggest? Maybe about the nature of sacred duty itself, or how societies define perfection, or even the standards we set, perhaps unconsciously for leaders or people in positions of responsibility, even today. Something to think about.